they probably heard when we were talking about the homework. So.
Oh, Alessandro says it's possible that you were able to hear when we were speaking about the homework. So, luckily, we were very impressed with the homework that the students sent, so we said only good things. But I would like to repeat the question from last week and say a few words. Let's go right into that then, and I'll talk about something else at the end of class. Okay, the question that we had for homework comes from page 44. I'll read you the last sentence of the first paragraph on page 44. And the homework was to comment on this. So here is the sentence. A new realization of the nature and the pervasiveness of creativity in life and thought would be fostered. There is nothing that the world in our time more desperately needs. And my question was, what would happen if a new realization of the nature and pervasiveness of creativity in life and thought were fostered? How would that change the world? And why does Levis say that the world in our time desperately needs this realization? Now, we only got one response from the homework, and that response was very good, and I really liked what the students said. So I'm going to share it with you, not in his words, because it was read to me out loud. I don't have a paper copy, but I took a few notes. This is what the student said, more or less. First, he said that the ability to create is the most divine characteristic of human beings. So, we say that man is in the image of God. But in what sense is man in the image of God? Obviously, man does not look like God. He doesn't physically resemble God. He resembles him in some aspects of his immaterial nature. And so the student is pointing out that creativity is a big part of the image of God in man. And the student pointed out that it is in the nature of human beings to live in tension between the divine and the material. And I'm reminded of the old classical idea of man as a rational animal. And some have described men as a kind of a being that has two natures. I forget the word in biology. One who lives in water and also on land, an amphibian, a spiritual amphibian. And the student pointed out that the modern world pushes us toward materialism and pushes us toward our animal nature and imprisons our mind in a Cartesian cage. And that when we remember that our likeness to God is in the realm of creativity, things fall into place. And I identified very much with the students' observation that things fall into place when we remember that we are in the image of God. When my children were young, and even now, I frequently remind them that they are in the image of God in the context of discussing behavior. We do not decide whether something is right or wrong based on the rules of our home. That's against the rules, so you shouldn't do it. No. We discuss whether something is right or wrong based on our identity as being in the image of God. And from that, everything follows. And it is easy for the child to know what is the right thing to do when they remember the image of God in man. So I really liked that response of the students. Also, another thing the student pointed out, there was a Brazilian poet who has said that the world is round, but it is getting flatter and flatter all the time. And the question was, why does our world desperately need a new realization of the pervasiveness and nature of creativity in life and thought? It needs it because without creativity, we simply follow rules. We may as well be robots. We don't have the full dimensionality of humanity. We lose a dimension and become flat when we are not creative thinkers and creatively engaging with the world to recreate the human world collaboratively with others through our lives. So that is still very abstract. And if anyone wants to, write me an email saying what they feel the effect would be on the world if this kind of thinking became common, then I'll share your answers in class next week. It's interesting to think about. I think it would have dramatic impact on education, politics, business, every aspect of life. So think about writing something and send it in. Feedback is coming.
The student says that he has missed a few classes. So his question might be just a repetition of some other questions, but he asks you if you could find a few good English grammars to study the basics.
A student has written in just now asking for a recommendation of a good English grammar book to study to learn the basics. And I'm going to ask Alessandro, do you remember the name of the author of English Grammar in Use?
I think it's just a second. I think it's Michael Swan. Just to check.
We're looking for a link right now. I have heard that the title English Grammar in Use is very good for self-study. But we're looking it up right now. So give us just a second or two here. Meanwhile, if anyone wants to review...
It's Raymond Murphy.
Okay, the author is Raymond Murphy. I'll write it down for you. And it is called English Grammar in Use.
Yes.
Murray? Did you say Murray?
Murphy.
Murphy. So there's a recommendation for you. Okay, let us look back at the book. As usual, I think I would like to back up and read the paragraph that we studied last week and then move into the next paragraph. Okay? So I will begin reading on page 43, bottom of the page, last paragraph. Emphasizing the affinity. Oh, wait, one more time before I start. A couple of months ago, a student indicated that they were trying to put together an audio file of me reading this book from the class. And I said that I would prepare it for you. Now, I began to do that, but it took a very long time, so I stopped. My question is this: do you want an audio file of the portion of the book that we are studying now? Because it is easy for me to make that and put it on the website for you to download, as long as I'm only doing the short bit right around where we are studying. When I tried to make an audio book of the whole thing, it took a long time and was difficult. So if you would like that, email or text me. And if there are a number of students who want an audio file to listen to, then I will make it for you. So let me know. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to start reading at that paragraph. Emphasizing, page 43, emphasizing the affinity between Dickens and Blake, I point out how the scheme implicit in the cast of sharply different main personae who interact in Little Dorrit applies to an equivalent of Blake's distinction between the selfhood and the identity. Making and enforcing this point is inseparable from observing how Dickens' art insists on creativity as the characteristic of life.